His reviews will get you further than the film will ever go. If you give him just a moment of your time, he'll let you know which movies rock, which movies stink, which movies shouldn't have been released. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
Believe it or not, I used to be really interested in the whole JFK issue. It was a phase I went through for about a year when I was around 15 years old. I actually did a lot of research on this, pretty detailed research too, and today, about 16 years later, I have completely forgotten everything that I learned back then. Probably for the best in this case. I remember at one point being absolutely convinced that it was just Oswald. Then at one point I was absolutely convinced that it was a conspiracy involving a large number of people. Then I was absolutely convinced it was just Oswald again, and I went back and forth so many times because the details in this case are so damn strange, it naturally lends itself to conspiracy theories. But one thing I can tell you for sure, the deciding factor, or even the help with the deciding factor for me, never had anything to do with this film. I've seen JFK a few times, and here, in a nutshell, is my review. JFK is technically a well-made film with some good cinematography and a decent pace, good performances all around as far as they go, and the plot, if it can be called so, is threaded through just fine. We learn, according to the film, that the Kennedy assassination was not only a conspiracy, but it was a conspiracy that was apparently a million times more complicated than it needed to be, and involved more people than it needed to involve, with just about everyone in the world except Lee Harvey Oswald being in on it. Occam's razor? Oh, not here. Here, just about everyone in the free world is either directly or indirectly involved in the conspiracy. The CIA, the military, the mafia, Secret Service, FBI, LBJ, Big Bird. Way too many people to keep a secret this big, but somehow they do. Except when they're talking to the investigator. Then they don't give a shit for some reason. Now, these conspirators are apparently profusely stupid. It's not enough just to kill Kennedy. They have to micromanage every detail of the conspiracy. Apparently, they even got a story into a New Zealand newspaper about Oswald and his guilt in the Kennedy assassination hours before Oswald was charged with anything. Wow, you would think that that in and of itself would be more than enough evidence to blow the lid off this whole thing, but somehow no one notices this, and even when they do, no one says anything about it. So anyway, the apparent reason for all of these people going along with the conspiracy is that Kennedy's foreign policy would have diminished profits for the military-industrial complex, which only gives motivations for about 2 of the organizations I mentioned going along with this in any way at all, but whatever, I guess. An investigation is led, and typical things start to happen. Threats are made as the investigator gets too close, his family complains that he's too caught up in all this and he's losing his family, blah 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 blah. Finally, the man has his day in court, putting suspect Clay Shaw on trial, and instead of just telling everyone about the New Zealand newspaper and blowing the lid off of this whole thing, the investigator insists it was a conspiracy based almost solely on the science of the single bullet theory, which he could have done without questioning anyone in the first place, but it doesn't matter because Shaw is acquitted, and the film ends with the investigator vowing to continue the search for the truth, which is apparently blindingly obvious with just about everyone involved in the conspiracy willing to talk about it with him. Now, that's about all I can say about this one, because while I'm not exactly sure how literal this statement is, I don't think this is a movie. JFK is really just a case that Oliver Stone is making that the Kennedy assassination was a conspiracy, and he does this with the help of a few other conspiracy nuts whose books have been largely debunked. I can see why people think the Kennedy assassination was a conspiracy. Hell, I thought so myself for a while, because a lot of things that happened in that case were just plain weird. But you know what? Anytime you have an event like this, the details are always going to be weird. If everything had gone exactly the way everyone expected them to, the conspiracy nuts would have claimed they were too uniform to be the truth. JFK was released in 1991, and it has since had over 2 decades for critics, authors, historians, and just about everyone else to debunk it. And they have. There is a lot of information out there on the liberties Stone took with the truth in this film, and this is why I don't think it's really a movie. It's more of a propaganda film, and that is just a bit outside my expertise to review. If I'm judging this film just in terms of how efficiently Stone got his case across to an audience, then this is a good propaganda film. But that's the problem with films like this. When a filmmaker has complete control over what you see and what you hear, over how you see it and how you hear it, it can't help but be manipulative. It's been a really long time since I researched the debunking of this film, but I remember about 90% of it was found to be bullshit, especially the whole New Zealand newspaper reporting on Oswald hours before his guilt was known, which, if you research this yourself, you'll find that wasn't true at all. Just bullshit like that. I mean, the whole ending case depended on the head going back and to the left, which to this guy suggests a second shooter. We've proven in laboratories that a head will do that if it's shot from that angle, so shut the fuck up about back and to the left. You have no idea what you're talking about. After this film was released, there were so many people ready to debunk its anti-facts that today, the debunking has almost become more famous than the film itself. In fact, get this, Don Belisario, the creator of Quantum Leap, was so sickened by Stone's bullshit in this film, he actually wrote a 2-part Quantum Leap episode entitled Lee Harvey Oswald for the sole purpose of debunking Stone's bullshit. And personally, I thought Belisario's 2-part episode was better than Oliver Stone's movie. Ultimately, the film is made fine on a technical level, but personally, I thought it was kinda stupid. I think Oliver Stone is kinda stupid, and I think if this film will be remembered for anything, it will be how it was caught in about a zillion factual errors and outright lies. That's all.